Hello everyone, welcome to the Open Central Asia Regional Interest Community. Welcome to the Celebrating America 250 series webinar. My name is Yerkin Abduraimov. I am one of the community leaders on the interest community. Today I'm going to be your host as well as the chat moderator. Today is our presenter, Rosetta Bhagwandin from Guyana, one of our global coordinators. She will be speaking on the topic of the 3 pillars of liberty and diplomacy, 1776-2026. Let me introduce our presenter. Rosetta Bhagwandin is a global English language educator and writer from Guyana, the only English-speaking country in South America. She's an open alumni online professional English network since 2027. A program supported by the U.S. Department of State FHI 360 and IRICs, Rosetta has successfully completed 35 professional English language courses, including her nominated Global Online course Developing and Teaching Academic Writing, sponsored by Iowa University, USA. She has established a remarkable career as a global writer, creating content in diverse writing styles and formats. Her extensive professional experience led her being selected for this year's Open Alumni Interview Video Project for the English for Career Development course. Welcome to the interest community, dear Rosetta. Thank you for agreeing to be the presenter for our mutual community.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
It's over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, dear colleagues. Thank you, Yerkin. First of all, let me introduce myself once again. I'm Rosetta Bhagwandin from Guyana. I'm a global English language educator and a global writer. Also, I represent Open Central Asia as a global coordinator for the continent of South America.
Okay.
So today, Go ahead.
Rosetta, I'm going to make you a co-host.
Thank you.
Now you are a co-host. You can share your screen.
Okay.
While Rosetta is sharing her screen, let me make some little kind reminders. The session is being recorded, so if you don't want to appear in the recording, you can have your camera off. You can not to comment in the chat box. It's optional but encouraged. It's up to you. So, and the session provides a certificate of attendance. The link will be shared at the end of the session, and they will be available for 30 minutes after the session ends. Thank you.
Thank you, Yerkin.
Welcome.
So, celebrating America 250 years of independence. And today I will be presenting based on that, particularly on the 3 pillars of liberty and diplomacy for America. First of all, let me congratulate America for becoming independent and for striving to gain that independence away from the British. And that was made possible in 1776. So 2026 this year, America will be celebrating 250 years of independence. Congratulations, America. So prior to 1776, the world had seen the role of being monitored and controlled mainly by trade, taxes of all goods in the commodities of food, travel commodities, all other commodities was being controlled prior to the year 1776 by the one of the most, well, I should say the only uh, richest nation at that time, the England, the British. Now, the British controlled America along with other colonies, and it controlled all taxes, to be exact. Now, after a certain time, certain period, as times went by, they added taxes on commodities such as food, travel, uh, uh, anything to be sufficient to the human eyes was controlled by taxes from the British. And so America wanted to be independent because the taxes were doubling, it was tripling, and there were no way to save, particularly by an independent nation. And so America created a committee of 5 members. And these 5 members all created and founded the document called the Declaration of Independence, and that was in 1776. Now, what is the Declaration of Independence? The Declaration of Independence was created by 5 members that made a committee, and the 5 members created and acted by protocols and principles that America will become independent, and so it will no longer be controlled by the powerful nation, uh, the British, England. And so the declaration of the committee was divided into 3 parts. It spoke of life, it spoke of liberty, and it spoke of happiness and the pursuit of being independent, away or by itself from the British. And so that was declared in July of 1776. Now, fast forward to 2026. Um, Today, America is thriving. America holds the title in my context of being the most powerful nation in the world. And so there's a contrast of irony there. You know, prior to 1776, it was controlled by the British, by England. And fast forward to now, 2026, it controls by itself. It controls even more countries in the globe. So today I'm going to show and highlight the purpose and the pursuit that the Declaration of Independence carry. So the Declaration of Independence holds the truth to be self-evident, meaning that it supports itself. It even supports other countries worldwide. It becomes the creator and the controller. And I must say that it gives also, while being the controller of title of the aspect of trade in other countries, it still gives the country a sense of establishment, a sense of identity, something that prior to 1776, America itself did not have because it was controlled by the British. So the Declaration of Independence, it stated principles that the government of America solely stands by itself in terms of all the commodities and all the principles and protocols that a normal country has, meaning trade, meaning self-sufficient liberty, the pursuit of happiness. All parliamentarian protocols were controlled by America itself. And so that is what the Declaration of Independence is all about. It's simple. It shows no oppression, it shows no tyranny being governed by a higher state or a higher country. So basically, on a forum of entitlement, it is freedom and it is equality amongst men, not only for America, but for the entire world. So it gives America a sense of right, whether it's from nation only, as well as transcending its declaration of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, away from being independent, away from being controlled by another country higher than itself. So before I go further, I would like to ask a question to my dear colleagues. Is there anything that you can share, anything that sparks a highlightement in my presentation today that shows the Declaration of Independence, how it was created, and how do you see it shifting to the country or to the world itself from 1776 to 2026, dear colleagues?
Yeah, thank you so much, Rosetta, for this question. Yeah, yeah, please, dear colleagues, if you have any ideas related to the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America, you can share your ideas and opinions in the chat box, or you can speak.
All right.
This our segment celebrating America 250 is a most topics related to the history. That's why we do not
Yes,
have a Q&A session in this webinar, not to confuse our the presenter, because our presenter herself learns and cascades the learning gained from the different resources and sources, right?
that's correct,
Yeah,
Yerkin. But at
so
the
we
same time,
we do not
all
have.
sentiments are welcome.
Yeah, sentiments
All right.
welcome.
So, should there be any sentiments shared or any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. So, as I transcend in my presentation, the first pillar of the Declaration of Independence is inclusivity, meaning that America stands by itself. It created a world for itself, and so that it was governed back in the days by the British, by England, which was at that time the most powerful nation in the world. And now, in 2026, it celebrates 250 years of self-independence, 1776 to 2026. So that's a big, big milestone for America. And how do we shift that as a person or as a country of independence? How is that recognized? So having the rights of a country more so in the human rights, more so in the commodity rights, in the shifting rights of trade, all principles that governs in normal country, for example, America, all are independent now. It's a nation that creates its binary of commodities as well as its definement of how it is ruled and how it works. For example, back in the days prior to 1776, for example, if there was, let's say, for example, potatoes to be imported from any other country other than British or even British itself to America, the taxes were so heavily placed on those potatoes that it was not even recognized as a commodity because it was triple, sometimes four times of the amount of taxes. And so in the economy of America at that time, there was nowhere to become independent. There was nowhere for the country to survive that. And at that time, there were 13 states that granted the independence that came together along with the five committee and they created the Declaration of Independence. And so here is the Declaration of the Independence. This, as you can see here, this is the original format, the original document. It is slightly worn, it is slightly faded, but as it stands now, this is what they have in the museum. And it shows, you can barely see it because of the parchment and it's faded. It shows all what Congress created in its document to become independent in 1776 prior to having being ruled by British prior to 1776. So liberty, life, and happiness. So how does this three context or the three separate words come together nicely to represent the Declaration of Independence. So I'll read a quote. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So these three words come together nicely, and it created and highlight what the Declaration of Independence stands for. It shows that America is no longer governed by another nation, which was British at that time. It shows that it's a country that stands by itself. And as of today, 2026, it also shows a country that has strong security, economic stability, and an identity to even govern other countries today worldwide. And so that alone by itself gives us liberty. It gives us a chance as countries not to be ruled by America, but to stand with America in terms of having rights of independence. So that is what liberty, one of the main contexts of what the Declaration of Independence stands for. It gives power for a country to be by itself. And so it was actually documented on the 4th of July, 1776. And so on the 4th of July this year, America will, for the entire year, because 2026 marks 250 years for America to have independence. So in essence of celebrating 250 years with America in the educational field, I would like to extend gratitude to them for having this chance, for giving me the pursuit of credentials and identity to stand here for almost 5 years in the educational field, as today I become a global English language educator and a global writer. So thank you, America, not only on behalf of myself, but on behalf of everyone, my dear colleagues, that America granted and give by right life, liberty, and happiness in the educational field. So as I continue my presentation today, I would like once again to highlight the 5 persons that drafted, created, and fought for America to stand alone. So a committee of 5 was appointed to draft the Declaration of Independence, and that was during the year of 1776. So who are these committee of 5? So we have Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Robert Livingston, and Roger Sherman. So these 5 men came together to declare and to fought for what America wanted. It wanted to be self-sufficient. It wanted to be away from being ruled by the British. It wanted a chance to stand alone in all diversities that a country had. And so these men came together, the 5 men came together, and they drafted and created and had it passed conclusively through members, through Parliament, as it stands today known as the Declaration of Independence. So thank you to the 5 men, especially Thomas Jefferson. He was the one that drafted. He was the one that did in the main part of it, created the protocols and the gain of what standing for independence mean, along with Benjamin Franklin. So we have to remember back in the days prior to 1776, the British at that time, I'll fast forward and at some time we will go back to history by itself to show the shift of constitution, to show the shift of being governed by another country, and to highlight how it stands today in 2026, almost 250 years by itself, and govern other countries such as countries in Europe, countries in Central Asia, countries in North America and South America. Um, Notably, so when America gained its independence, and when the Declaration of Independence was gained and announced in 1776, China came in co-partnership, I should say, and worked evenly with America in terms mainly for trade. They created a shift in the world's economy, in the world's trading, so that all commodities will be opened up, will be cleared, and will be delivered with a normalcy of trade and taxes, with a normalcy of equality, with a normalcy of inclusive arrangement for all goods and services that British at that time taxed heavily on. So history has a way of honoring the past. History has a way of showing how by collaboration, support, and the context of having country to country, region to region, coming together and creating the most diverse and honest way of having equal balance in a country by itself, in all commodities of life that a country should have. So once again, I like to ask a question. All are free to answer. Do you see a shift in your country having a linkage to honor America this year with 250 years of independence? Can anybody answer?
Thank you, Rosetta. Yes, dear participants, please.
My question pertains to having a highlight of the country or the region or the continent that my dear colleagues are from, showing if there's any a linkage and a highlightement in supporting America of gaining the independence and how the three pillars of highlighting the Declaration of Independence is made up and what does it represent?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rosetta, as usual. Yeah, what comes to my country, Kazakhstan? Yeah, of course, there is a big linkage between the United States of America and Kazakhstan. As when the Kazakhstan, uh, received the independence, the United States was one of the countries, one of the first countries who recognized our country as an independent country. So, and of course, there are a lot of projects, and especially in educational field, where we there are a lot of exchange programs where we can go to the United States and study there. As I would like also to appreciate and say thanks to the uh, USA, because I am also an alumnus of the exchange program. So as I visited last summer the University of Massachusetts and spent 2 great weeks there. So there is a great linkage. So there are a lot of projects between the United States and Kazakhstan where they work together.
Thank you, Yerkin. Thank you, dear colleague. So, um, Yerkin response shows the highlightement of the Declaration of Independence for America, more so in the context of education, because myself and Yerkin, as well as all other open alumni, gain that virtual or in-person benefit in the educational field from America. Now, remember, prior to 1776, America was governed by the British. And so if that continued as of 2026 now, the perspective or the chance of being governed by the British shows a minimal part of ratio. So probably by then we would not have the chance, I will not have the chance to sit here today and to highlight and to wish America 250 years of self-independence. So my dear colleague Yerkim, he is very much correct. And I want to stand with him in saying thank you, America, for creating this educational and professional initiative so that we can be so far away, yet so close to having to share that birthday, that declaration of self-independence, of inclusivity, of liberty, and of happiness. We share that with America because I stand here today and it's absolutely astounding to present on behalf of America, on behalf of celebrating its 250 years of independence. So thank you, America. Thank you, Yerkin. And so as I continue my presentation, I want to show how history shares its governance with America in terms of the educational field, the commodities, the taxes. And so I'll make a short reference here. In the past, we had America being governed by the British, very much so. Now, in order for something to be passed in Parliament, we all know that there has to be a committee that comes down to the final conclusion of giving that right, of certifying if that protocol should be passed, whether or not it should go through Parliament, whether or not it fits to stand alone. And to have 50 states in America, a country so big and so wide, of having 50 states, we should take into context that these five men should be highlighted, they should be praised, and they should be thanked. Because to have 50 states come together and to represent itself in all aspects that a country has, you know that it stands with first authenticity and verse protocols in governing itself. And in addition to that, in governing other countries. So, when we hear of the word independence and when we hear of the word liberty and we hear of the word happiness, it comes to mind that as a country by itself, it it offers independence in all sections, in all aspects of a country that a country should have, along with the world, in colonies that need assistance, in colonies that even offer, other parts of what a country should have, so that it can, function as an independent state. So some of the context of having a contrast and to compare in 17 prior to 1776 and to now 2026 should be highlighted. And I want to make a reference. There are a lot of things that we trade as a country, that we trade as a region. Now, to show a vast membership of country to country, state to state. Once again, I'll ask a question, and I don't know, I welcome all sentiments. Yerkin, if you can you share one commodity or one benefit that works hand in hand with America along with the world?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Or anybody
Yeah.
wish to answer?
Yeah. That's, of course, this is a question for anybody. Yeah. I would say what comes to commodity, I'm a little bit, far from the business, but what
All aspects.
yeah, any, if it comes to any aspect, I think it's education. For me, it's an education where, yeah, we are I think, much more closer in the education field.
Absolutely.
Because
And we're
as I am following pages of the U.S. Embassy in Kazakhstan, U.S. Consulate General in Almaty, so what I see, of course, there are a lot of events. They announce and they share, but maybe it's as because I am a teacher, I see there are more projects, more sharings related to the education, like the exchange programs, um, like announcing
the
the different
Fulbright.
opportunities for the students, for the universities.
Absolutely. We have the Fulbright. We have the Open, which I'm sure most of my colleagues here, such as myself, has been representing. Fulbright, Yerkin, I'm sure. I know that. And so there are many other initiatives. So the highlighment for Yerkin Respond once again is in the educational field. Also, I would like to highlight one of the most prominent factors is that of importing and exporting goods from America and to America, because it shows a shift that America grants the context of having not taxing, even if it taxes a commodity, it's not so heavy. It's a normal tax that, of course, has to be passed in Parliament in order for a country to have sustenance, right? But it's not so tripled and doubled like back in the days prior to 1776. So the Declaration of Independence, as I conclude, it shows distinction. It shows the context of merging protocols, rules, initiatives um, that a country should have. And it shows that where there is collaboration, where there is support, where there is inclusion of drafting of drafts, appointments, it shows that it can work. It shows that a country can stand by itself despite of how many states it have. It shows that someone can stand by themselves. You just have to have the willpower. You have to have the chance to liberty, the chance to independence, and the chance to propose whatever you're fighting for. So, in conclusion of my presentation, the Declaration of Independence not only stands for America, it stands on behalf of the world. All right, in all aspects, in all contexts, whether it's educational, whether it's trade, whether it's in the commodities of importing and exporting. It fought not only for independence for itself, but also for the world to stand alone and to show the world that you can make it whether you're alone or not. And you need to have a form engagement in whatever protocol or whatever beliefs that you stand for, whatever perspective that you show, you can achieve that. So on behalf of myself and my dear colleagues, particularly for the Fulbright and for the open educational initiatives. I would like to say happy 250th birthday, America. May you continue to strive as a nation. May you continue to collaborate and support other nations, other countries worldwide. And thank you for everything, especially for fighting to achieve the independence that we call the Declaration of Independence. And thank you to the five members, the five committee, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Robert Livingston, and Roger Sherman. Those five men fought for not only for America, but for the entire world to stand free, to stand alone, and to stand with happiness, pursuit, and liberty. So on behalf of myself, on behalf of Guyana, on behalf of the Educational Initiative, Fulbright and Open, thank you, American. Happy 250th birthday. of self-independence. So as I conclude my presentation today, on behalf of Open, on behalf of myself, I would like to ask, is there any sentiments that anyone, my dear colleagues, would like to share, would like to extend, whether it's to America or whether it's to my presentation today? All sentiments are welcome.
Thank you so much, Rosetta, for this great presentation. Let me read some comments. Gulnara says, as I know from my experience, there are also a lot of projects done by the support of U.S. Embassy in terms of education, business, and economics, ecology projects, and world food projects. So thank you. Uh, uh, Gulnara Abdieva, again, I would like to highlight the support of USA during conflict in City OSH 2010. They supported in terms of food, health, and security. Dilbari Shankulova said the best quality products are often produced for the American market. Thank you, Gulnara, again. Thank you for the highlighting the U.S. history. A lot of appreciations to you, dear Rosetta, that you have give the presentation about the U.S. history. It's a great knowledge for us to know from you, Rosetta.
Thank you, dear Yerkin. I
Yeah,
wish to,
there is a question.
sure.
As we don't have the Q&A session for this segment, but if would you like to listen to the question, Rosette?
Of course, all
Yeah,
sentiments are
please. Yeah,
welcome. I'm
yeah,
available.
yeah. Was the U.S. Declaration of Independence based on European documents of the same kind? This is a question from Elada Mirzaeva.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, the Declaration of Independence,
Yeah,
does it stand for?
if you are aware, if you are aware of this knowledge, you can answer, of
Mhm.
course, Rosetta.
If I understand and if I interpret the question correctly, um, does the Declaration of Independence shows a shift or a stand for not only for America, but for the other countries in the world or globally? Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah. Was the Declaration of Independence based on European documents of the same kind? Was the Declaration of Independence adopted according to the documents of the countries of, from of Europe? Yes.
Yes, of course.
Was
When
there some things were taken from there? If I'm not mistaken.
yes. So um to go back into history prior to 1776, as I said earlier, remember the America, along with other countries, were governed heavily, especially with taxes from British. Now, America wanted to stand alone in all aspects that a country should have. And of course, it would be biased to say that if they're if these five committee, the men in the five committee were drafting a Declaration of Independence, they not only had to include protocols and sentiments shared and wanted that had pertinence to America alone. They had to include all other countries' economy, all other countries' welfare, because remember, a country cannot stand by itself. All right. In no matter how many protocols that is being declared or how many distinction of um, attributes has been declared, you have to include, you have to have inclusivity, and that is what America did. So when the five committee of men drafted and created that Declaration of Independence, most definitely yes, it included all other countries and all other economies, welfare, to have been placed in that drafting of that Declaration of Independence, had it been not of having inclusivity and had it been not of having support, all right, and collaboration, that drafting would never have been passed because in order for somebody or a country or a region to function distinctively and to have that equality of positivity, you must have other countries included. So yes, to answer the question, yes, it had to had inclusion of Europe, inclusion of the Caribbean, all other countries or continents or region that America had or wanted to do business with. So yes, it had to have that in consideration of the European attributes, solely so with the protocols and rules. I hope my answer suits um, your question.
Yeah, yeah.
If not, I welcome any more.
Yeah, thank you so much for the response. Thank you so much for the question, Alada. I see. Yeah, yeah. A lot of appreciation. Thanks for the Alima says. The America has big history and interesting facts about presidents. Absolutely. And Rosetta, thanks for a presentation about Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. Yeah, a lot of appreciations to your address, Rosetta. Uh, I would like to thank you as well. Thank you so much for this great presentation for our mutual community. Thanks for agreeing to be the presenter. We wish you all the best. We will reach out to you shortly to hand out your certificate of appreciation.
So
Uh,
thank you for
yeah,
that conclusion, Yerkin, and thank you, dear colleagues. And so before I close my presentation, I would like to thank the National Museum of American Diplomacy, particularly Sierra, because I did a workshop with her this year in celebrating America's 250th birthday. And as you can see here, the theme for celebrating America's 250th birthday is Freedom 250. So just to give a highlight on that, so Freedom 250 shows that America has been governing itself along with other nations equally with clear balance in all aspects of a country or as a region, and it shows clarity, it shows independence, and it shows equality. That is what the Declaration of Independence speaks for. That is what it represents. So Freedom 250, that's a theme for celebrating America's 250 years of independence. Happy, happy birthday, America. And thank you to the National Museum of American Diplomacy, particularly Sierra, for conducting 3 workshops. And I'm so very grateful to join that this year and to show that once again, America has represented the educational field in the educational aspect, clarity, pursuit, and happiness. Thank
yeah,
you, America, and
yeah.
thank you to Sierra. Thank you,
Yes.
Yerkin, and to my dear colleagues, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday to the USA. Okay, thank you so much, dear participants, for the great and active participation in the chat box. Thank you again, dear Rosetta, one of our global coordinators, for this great presentation.
Thank you, Yerkin. Thank you, dear colleagues, for listening and for sharing your sentiments and questions.
Thank you. You are welcome, Rosetta. You are welcome.